Diet Coke check, microphone check. Hey, I'm Nancy from Stony Creek Yarn, and you're watching my Fibery podcast with knitting, crochet this week, sewing, and yarn dyeing, all of my Fibery adventures. Welcome to Along Stony Creek. Hi, and welcome to Along Stony Creek. I did not podcast last week, so this is going to be an interesting week. I'd like to say, let's see, so I start out with who I am, what I am, I don't know, where I am. All right, let's start with the prizes. I'm going to start out with the introductions, and then we'll go to the prizes, okay? Because I have prizes. My name is Nancy. I live in Monroe, Michigan, north of Monroe, in these little bitty beach communities, which were all created in the 1920s so that families of the workers at Ford and in Libby glass plant in Toledo could come here and enjoy being along the lake or along Stony Creek. I'm very close to Lake Erie. I'm 28 miles south of Detroit, 28 miles north of Toledo, Ohio, and 28 very long miles from my two oldest children who live in Ann Arbor, Michigan. This is the Lower Peninsula. I know we have an Upper Peninsula, but I live in the Lower Peninsula. I'm a troll that lives under the bridge. That's what we call ourselves, or what the Yoopers call us. I'm living here. Grew up here, lived here for a long time, moved here. That's how I did it, my life. I am the head dyer behind Stony Creek Yarn, and this is my knitting, crochet. Yes, I have crochet this week, I have sewing this week, and I just had a cup of coffee. So when the caffeine hits, woohoo, wickety whack. I live here with two of my four children, Gerald and Hearn, who are 18 and 20. I almost say 19 and 20 because Gerald is going to be 19 in a month and a half and moving out very soon. We'll talk about that later. I also have three rats, Pip, Pop, and Bear, and my dog Zool, along with my two cats, Kit, and Hope, or Hopeless Case, as we call her. She just spent an hour staring out at the rain. It is a rainy 6th of July, 2023, and I apologize for not putting up this podcast sooner, announcing my prizes. Let's announce prize winner. What a great segue, Nancy. In my little Sterilite container, I have my prizes to keep them away from my cats. I also have a USB cable so I can take my pictures off my phone and put them onto my computer. All right, last month's prize for the month of June, and this is how you win a prize. I should probably tell you all about that first. To win a prize, to win one of the skeins of yarn that I show, all you have to do is leave a comment in the current month that the podcast is being shown. This is July 2023, so anything you comment on in July will make you eligible to be entered in the contest and receive a prize. If you can receive a package from the United States of America, where I currently and have always resided, although I've been out of the country, so that's kind of cool. I like that. Anyway, no shame to anyone who's not. Some of it was good, some of it wasn't. Things happened, things didn't. It's fine. Things happened. Tilted cruise ships, robbed at gunpoint. Things happened. Wonderful adventures. Things happened. This month's prize for June of 2023, it's last month's prize, was a skein of my Skateland with two little mini skeins, 20 grams each, of a hot pink and a chartreuse green. They are some of the dyes in here are fiber reactive or fluorescent reactive to fluorescent light. They're not fiber reactive, they're reactive to fluorescent black. They fluoresce in black light. Can you tell my caffeine has just hit? My caffeine has just hit. This is my normal, cheery, bubbly self. I drive people crazy because I'm too happy. And this prize was won by Maria Villegas 4218. Thank you for the lovely comment. I picked your comment by selecting the podcast, and you were the only comment. So, yay! I think that's wonderful. And I want to tell you guys that I appreciate each and every one of you that watches my podcast, leaves a comment. I can't even tell you how it's just a small group, but from a small seed, great things grow. And I am just enjoying this so much. So if you leave a comment in July, what can you possibly win? This is my colorophobia colorway. This is, and colorophobia, if you don't know what it is, it's fear of clowns, and I have it. When I was a little girl, my parents took me to some circus thing because my mother was very anti-circus, and I like Cirque du Soleil, but I don't, the animal thing is not really my thing, and I hate clowns. So they took me to, I was 3 years old, they took me to a Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey circus, and a clown picked me up out of the audience and hauled me away from my mom. I am adopted, and I had, at that time, incredible attachment anxiety, and I just screamed my head off, and it has affected me the rest of my life. And my poor cousin Bob went to clown school in Germany and is a working clown. So this is for my cousin Bob. He'll never see this podcast because he doesn't knit or crochet or sew. His wife does, though. So this is Colorophobia. It is on my sock base, which is 75% merino, 25% nylon. And it is a 2-ply yarn, and it will go to a comment that is made in July. And so make a comment on any of my July videos in 2023, and you could possibly win this. And it's really good odds because, I don't have tons and tons and tons of comments. I think that's a fun way to do it. Also, Salter Prevesquin, 1199, and Brooke Shoblin, 5956. You have not gotten a hold of me. Oh, to get a hold of me so you can get your prize, the email's in the more bar. More, and then you click more again. That's how the YouTube's doing it these days. Go to the more bar. It's Nancy at stonycreekyarn.com. That's STONY creek.com. There is no E at this point in the traverse of Stony Creek. It's STONY. I don't know if it was a spelling error, but it is very consistently Stony, STONY, up creek, until you get about 8 miles in, and then it changes to EY. I don't know. Maybe there was some sort of familial battle. I don't understand, but there was a war here. Monroe was we had a lot of battles in the War of 1812. A lot. We have a whole battlefield dedicated to it, which is really interesting. Speaking of that, next week's podcast is going to be a little different. I'm going to be making it from South Bass Island in Ohio and this little village of Put-in Bay. I am going there for 3 days. I am going there not on a party weekend because it is a total party island, but during the week it becomes very quiet and there are families. So I thought I'd just go and take a little adventure and take a few days and do some stuff. And I'm really looking forward to it. I want to go parasailing. I don't think I'll be posting any video of that. I'll probably be too busy screaming. But knitting in different places on the island. And there's a yarn store in Catawba, on Catawba Island in Ohio that I want to go to so I can do a video from there so I can tell you all about it. So I think that would be really, really fun. So I'm calling them today and hopefully arranging something. Okay, let us get into the knitting. This week I am a knitwit. I have nothing else to say other than that. My yarn store this Friday is having a knit night or a maker's night, and I'm going, and I'm going to find somebody knit picky and hooked in Monroe, and I'm hoping, praying somebody there has knit this shawl so they can tell me what the heck I'm doing wrong here, because I'm ready to just hack it. I mean, it's not like I've ever followed the pattern all the way anyway. I mean, I always do something different, usually make things bigger, shawls. But I want this. This is a project that I want done off my needles. I want it done before it's cold. I want it done so if I go to a bonfire in the end of August and it's cold in the evening, because sometimes it can be unseasonably cool. My child Hearn is home, so if you hear noises, that's Hearn. And my dog, I'm about to do a left turn on a one-way street and ramble. My poor dog. My poor dog. My poor dog, you cannot see him, is right here. There's my yarn and my knitting and my dog. The other night, somebody had the brilliant idea that at 2:12 in the morning, I know because I woke up, they needed to light off all the fireworks. And it went on till 4 o'clock in the morning. And my poor golden doodle he's 80 pounds. He was on top of me trying to crawl. I think he wanted to unzip me and crawl inside. I'm pretty sure it was some sort of alien attack. He really wanted to not be anywhere near that noise. I actually considered getting in the car and driving off and going to a hotel, but I couldn't find a hotel around here with room that would allow a dog. And then I realized it's probably going to have the same problem anyway. He was freaking out. The cats were like, man, it's the same cat we get every year. I don't know what your problem is. And he's like, I don't know. I'm just scared. So he has been literally glued to me like Gorilla Glue, because that eventually, I don't know if Gorilla Glue can never come off, but I'm hoping it unpeels at some point. I love my dog. I adore Zool. I just don't need him on my lap. At least he doesn't shed. So my two problems, my poor dog, which there's nothing I can do about except love him and give him little treats, and my poor shawl, which all I can do is love. Maybe, if I made like 4 of these or 3 of these, I could make a mini skirt. No, I'm going to make the shawl, I promise. It's really got me frustrated, but I had a major win this week, so at least that's going well. So that's my first thing. It's not off the needles. I just needed to address it because I'm getting questions about it, and the answer is I got no answer. So let's talk about what's off my needles, because something's off my needles and I get to take it to Put-in-Bay with me because it's going to be 65 degrees at night. Perfect. I'm not wearing it today because it's 80 degrees already and it's like and 100% humidity and it's 9:30 in the morning. Yeah. My Petite Knit Cumulus t-shirt is off the needles and I've made a major decision about it. I'm going to wear it a couple times this summer, and then I'm going to unpick the sleeves. I've got 150 grams left. This is only 150 grams of yarn. And I have 150 grams left because I used size 4 needles. Now, I'm getting smaller on the needles as I'm making t-shirts and sweaters. My first sweater was a holly, and that just turned out terribly, and I just wear it like a sweatshirt around my house. But my second was a ranunculus, and that's done on size 10.5 needles. So I'm getting better. I'm getting better with the smaller needles and not feeling overwhelmed by how small the needles are. So eventually I will knit this probably never on the needle size required, which I think is a size 2, maybe. I don't know. I have to look it up. I dig it. I really like it. It's got stellina in it. I don't know why I wanted a sparkly shirt, but I wanted a sparkly shirt. There was a sparkly part of my personality that comes out in the summer. You can always tell it's summer because when I'm dyeing in the summer, the colors are light and bright and fun, and there's no moodiness to it. It's a very different look. It's still me, but it's different because in the summer I feel light, and I get a little bit of seasonal affective disorder. I think most of us do that live in Michigan. It's dark in the winter. Anyway, so this is my Cumulus, my Petite Knit. I don't have where I joined the yarn. I did it with a magic knot, and it's not visible. It's right in here somewhere. And I'm really proud of it. I did knit front back increases for the raglan portion. It will always do knit front back if I can. I like it better. There is a piece of fuzz in my mouth and it is driving me bananas. Okay. I decided to not do ribbing. And there's a reason for that. I thought it was really pretty with a little bit of stockinette curl. I just think it's really pretty. It's on the bottom, it's on the sleeves, it's on the back, and then the front doesn't really have that because of the way it's constructed with the V. If you've never done a V construction, there's a lot of back and forth stockinette before you join in the round. It's worth it. It's worth it. I like V-necks for myself. I mean, not everybody does. I watch several podcasters who don't like V-necks at all. I happen to. It is a very easy pattern to follow. It is intuitive. It doesn't, I've knit 2 of these now. I've knit my hair into it. I've always managed to knit some of my hair into every little project I do. I tell you what, because my hair is so long. And I'm not going to cut it. I'm not going to cut it. I have family members that are like, Nancy, you're almost 60. Don't you think it's time to cut your hair? No. And I don't think it's time to stop coloring it either. Thank you very much. I'm happy with the way it is now. So what can I say about it? It is a fairly quick knit. I don't know if it's a fairly quick knit on the size needles that it calls for. I don't feel it's too sheer. I find that if you wear something that's a little bit sheer, and this is a little bit sheer, putting on a skin matching bra as close as you can, and I know it's really difficult for some skin colors to find a matching bra that does that, but I think things are getting better in that direction. I don't have a problem. This fits me. I tried it on after I blocked it. I tried it on before I blocked it, and it fit. And then I blocked it, and oh my gosh, it fits. It fits like it was made for me. I mean, I really tried on the entire way. I made extensive notes, a slight positive ease. So that's how I like my t-shirts. I made extensive notes about stitch nut counts and measurements. And so I have, and I really strongly suggest that if you're going to start knitting sweaters and t-shirts, that you start really find clothes that really fit you well and measure them. And then when you knit a sweater that fits you exactly the way you want it, count your stitches, count everything, count your rows. Just, I know it's boring. It takes a long time and you can get discombobulated and confuzzled, but it's not for everything. I just knit down so many inches after the sleeves. I knit my sleeves to X amount of inches. But if you're counting rows this way and this way, it really, you will get a well-fitting sweater. I hope that makes sense. It's not an extensive explanation because I really don't have the words I want. I mean, but I found a gauge on size 4 needles, and that works for me in fingering weight yarn. I just can't tell you how important the measurements are. They're just so important. Petite knit. Some people say her patterns fit a little loose, Scandinavian loose. Some people don't find that. I think it depends on your body type. I mean, I have rather, unfortunately, because of a medication I'm on, I have large bazongos right now. That will not always stay the same since I'm coming off it. I hate medications that make you gain weight. I really, really do. I hate them. But anyway, I ramble. What? If it's your first time here, this is what I sometimes do. I try very hard to stick to the story, but sometimes. It's turquoise, and I made a pair of pants to go with it, which I'll show you in a minute. They're not quite finished, but they will be today. And I have, oh my gosh, I have the best earrings for it too. I brought out an earring. I only brought out one earring. Watch me lose this one. If they're silver with turquoise, I can't even remember where I got them. I found them in my deep jewelry stash. I figured this with a black skirt or a black pair of pants. Oh my gosh. I think that will be so pretty together. So I'm super excited to wear it this weekend. And I'm also taking along my holly sweater because, again, 65 degrees at night. And I plan to be doing all the outdoor fun walking around things at night because places are open rather late there, 10 p.m., which stores are open later. And then, of course, there are bars. But I mean, I do want a margarita overlooking the water. That does sound like fun. My glue, Zool, just got up from where he was and moved exactly 4 feet to be closer to my feet. My table is round. So that's my finished objects. So everything else is where do I stand? Where do I stand? And I have to keep the knitting and the crochet project separate. Excuse my disappearance. Project bags. Remember I told you I wasn't sure if Nitpicky and Hooked had a website because I couldn't look it up last week or the week before. It was the week before last. I didn't do one last week. They do. Nitpicky and Hooked has a website. It's in the More bar. They have these bags on their site. I am telling you, get a little clip for your purse. For socks, this is the bomb pop. It really, really is. I love them. I love them. I love them so much. They're worth every single dime, which is not very much. So they're reasonably priced. And they make the best yarn bowls in the world. You just fold them over, plonk them down, nothing breaks, and Bob's your uncle. I don't know how far I was on my sock the last time. But I'm here. I'm going to start putting in progress keepers. I have 3. I obviously am going to need a couple more. But I do have the beading stuff to make progress keepers for myself. So I think I'll probably beat up myself a couple progress keepers and put them on so I can tell from podcast to podcast if I've made any movement at all without looking back and looking back and looking back. This is on my Ore Carrier colorway, and it's just in merino. It's not, I'm risking it for the biscuit. There is no nylon in this. I have one finished, not blocked, not washed, nothing, not even woven in yet, obviously. And I love the way it fits. The world's longest foot. I'm supposed to be tall. I keep saying that. And I just did my vanilla sock with 1x1 rib at the top. I didn't go down a needle size at the top, and I wish I had. So I may actually pick this back and go down a needle size. I just really hate knitting with size 0 needles. It's little things. You know what it is? I'm almost 60, and my eyesight is not what it used to be. And while I have these stashed all over my house, they're 2x granny glasses. I can't do this. I don't want to wear them on a chain, so I can't see anything further than my hands when I have them on. So I don't like to knit without something that I can watch in the background. It's just a thing I do. I watch a lot of interesting documentaries. I have a Curiosity Stream account, which I'm not being told to say. So it's not being paid to say it. I just do. And I watch it. Although I do have my audibles. I could listen to books more. But then I can't see outside. And part of the joy of living where I do is it's so green and so lush in the summer. It's just stunning. I put up some photos at the beginning of the podcast. That is my area. The flowers in the garden aren't mine. That's my neighbor's garden. I will be honest with you. My next door neighbor, my grumpy old next door neighbor, has the most beautiful garden I've ever seen, and I'm going to copy it next year. Not copy it, but I'm going to put in some of those beautiful colors next year. There's magenta and fluorescent orange, almost not fluorescent, but almost like fluorescent oranges, and just the most beautiful colors I can translate into dye. So I have those pictures. It's just it's a really pretty area. Eagle. You can tell by the way they flap their wings if you can't see them really well because you're old and your eyesight's going. The flap is distinctive. That's all I can say about it. I can't do the flap, but the flap is distinctive. All right, the next thing on my needles. Almost half off my Crunchy Frog mitts for my friend. Perfect for, apparently their office is really, 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 really cold. So the fingers like to even be covered in the summer. He works in IT. And now I can't get it off because it's so humid here. Everything is sticking to me. It's really sticky today. And I have my air conditioning, but it is really sticky today. Humidity. Tell you it stays like these. I wish I was in Vegas for a little while, but then it's too hot. Can't have everything, right? What's next? Ooh, that's upcoming. And so last but not least, for my current projects, I want to be dramatic here. I have this purple, which is Bearded Iris, is on now. This is Muses, Bearded Iris, Cake Pops, Orchids, and Pajama Party. Now I was thinking about, because I want this to be right up close to my neck, so I was thinking about, and what is this? It is the Mini Skein Infinity Scarf by Julianne Cole, and it's $1.99 Australian, and it's available in the Ravelry, on Ravelry, and I will of course link it. It is an adorable little pattern. Now, it is not normally done garter. I chose to do garter because I really want this to be warm. My neck gets cold. I go for walks in the middle of winter, and I want my neck bundled up. So I want to be able to wrap it, and I could close it off after this because I have so much of the skein left. I mean, it's like 15 grams, but then it's purple against purple, and even though they're different purples, one's more violet, I really didn't think that was quite the thing. So I have this colorway. Gosh, it was one of my first colorways, and I don't even think I dye it anymore. I haven't dyed it in a very long time. It's called Astonish. And I just thought, you know what? As long as I have this, I might as well just finish with this. And then it's a blue with pink undertones, like a blue purple, like a lavender with some pink in it. And I think that would just finish it off, and it would go with the rest. Tell you what though, when you knit with the colorways you dye, you find out what you like and what you don't like that you dye very, very quickly. And I have to say, for me personally, not the best colorway I've ever dyed. It was it's always a surprise. I like knitting things up because I can see it. And it's you know, when you're a dyer, sometimes you do make colorways. I mean, it happens. We've all done it. We've all had colorways. It's very normal and natural to come up with colorways that you're like, it's not my taste, but that doesn't mean they don't work for somebody else. That will microstripe. It'll make cute socks, I think. I do, but not something that won't be the side I put out. Let's just leave it at that. I'll leave some of it out because there's a midnight blue in there I just love. So that's it. I have not worked on my 3-color cashmere adjacent cowl because it's using Joji Locatelli's pattern, but I'm making my own changes to it, as I am wont to do. And I haven't worked on my my daughter raised speckle fade, and I've just decided until I get this other shawl off the needles, I think that's going to take a complete rest. I really want my twists and turns. I really want my twists and turns. My dog is so glued to me, people just walked by the house and there was no barking. Glued. So that's kind of what's on my needles as far as knitting goes. Now there's an upcoming thing I'm going to do. On the 8th of July, which is this coming Sunday, Natalie from Love and Stitches, known as Knitty Natty, and she has a podcast. She's got a sock challenge, sock week. This entire week devoted to knitting socks. And you can win prizes, and I like prizes too. So I like giving away prizes, and I like to win because it doesn't happen very often, but when it does, it's super exciting. So I am going to enter her sock week knit along. I have a skein of ivy and my needles, and I am going to work on this on Put in Bay. I'm going to take this with me and only this. I'm not going to take any other projects. Nancy, who is ADHD and must have 15 things going at once, is taking one project. You know I'm going to end up buying something at that yarn store in Catawba Bay and Catawba Island and knit with it. I can see it coming. I haven't bought my own yarn. I haven't bought yarn for myself in a very long time. So I'm looking forward to a souvenir skein. But I'm going to make the sock. I'm going to make shorties are okay. One sock done in that week. You must start and finish midnight to midnight. It's a week long, Sunday. And you can do shorties, and each sock you finish is eligible to be, she's got a form you can fill out and for prizes. So I am going to do that. I'm kind of nervous about it because the last time I did a knit along was my twists and turns. And we all know how that's going. If I have it done by the time Stephen West comes out, and by the way, Twists and Turns is by Stephen West. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I didn't say that. I just assume, and that's terrible. Never assume. It makes a out of you and me. I haven't decided the pattern yet. I want something memorable, so I want something I've knit before. So it tips my memory off. I know I'm going to do a fish lips kiss heel because I have a little card that I have laminated that I will pop in the bag that writes out just the part that I need to know about what to do for the short rows. So, and I don't want to do a vanilla sock. I find knitting vanilla socks important with no ribbing or anything, but essentially slightly boring. I like a little bit of action on my socks. I like a little bit of thought put into it. So I'm looking at either Cookie A's Monkey Socks from Knitty.com, and that's a free pattern, or the Mercury Socks is available on Ravelry. I will leave links to the patterns. Both of those socks were engaging. When I say something flies off the needles, I don't mean it almost knits itself, blah, blah, blah. I mean, the pattern was so engaging, I couldn't put it down. I think a lot of people mean that when they say things fly off the needles. I can't speak for everyone, of course. But when I say something flies off the needles, it's because I cast on and I'm engaged with the pattern and I just can't put it down. And both the Mercury socks and the Monkey Socks are very engaging patterns, and both would look good with this. But you know what? I think the Mercury Socks would look better with a semi-solid yarn. And it's got sparkle in it too. I don't know if you can see the sparkly sparkles, but they're there. It's dark enough out, you might actually be able to catch a really good look at these sparkles. So it turns out that I was stubborn for years, and the key to keeping your stellina nice and bright is to use vinegar, not citric. And for years, I was sure there was a way around that, not unless I pH test everything. So I use vinegar. And I have to use a little more citric here when I use it. I use vinegar too, because we have very, very basic water. It's very base. It's like it's like pH 8.5. It's not acidic at all. Actually, I can't remember the last one. It was a little high last time. It was like flat base for water. Anyway, so I'm ready to go. I'm ready to cast on. And since I'm leaving Sunday and I have a half-hour boat ride, and then I'm going to be on the beach or by a pool or walking around, and I can knit and walk at the same time, especially if I use one of these doohickeys. I move it around because actually the best one to be with this one because it's the small one. I put it in here and I have a clip. I can clip it to my purse and I can walk around and knit and then not knit as I choose. That is a thought. I mean, I'm going to be doing a lot. I don't think I'll be knitting and parasailing, like I said, but I'm, you know, I want to enjoy, I want to watch views. I want to watch water. I just love watching people and water. And there are several places to sit downtown Put-in-Bay where you can just park your booty and people watch. And I think that sounds like a lot of fun. I also rented a golf cart because apparently that's the way to get around the island, but I'm sort of rethinking that. I'm kind of thinking about taking my bicycle, which means I have no clue how I'm going to get the bike to the hotel. I can't ride the bike and take my knitting and take my suitcase, and that's not going to work. I'll have to figure something out. I do want to take my bike. I do want to take my bicycle. I have two. I've, over the years, garnered them. I have a triathlon bike, which it's a street bike. I haven't done a triathlon in 10 years, and I did two, and they were short ones. But I like my bike. And then I have just a bike that can go on gravel roads, but it's not quite off-road. It's kind of like a hybrid. I'm thinking about taking that bike. Neither here nor there. All right, so crochet. I have good, bad, and ugly in crochet. And I think that I have, my crochet is in another, but the little squares I made are in another bag. So I started crocheting again. I haven't crocheted in a very long time, but I decided that I wanted to crochet again. And I decided I wanted a Battenberg adjacent blanket. In other words, I liked the look of that blanket, but I didn't want to do the closed granny square. I wanted to do the open granny square. So I started making granny squares that were one round bigger than the Battenberg blanket because I'm lazy like that. And then I realized about all the ends, and then I have to weave in. And I don't mind that. I mean, I can do that. But then I realized it's a long-term project. This is a long-term, year maybe or more project. And because I want to do it well, and I want to put the colors together well, and I want it to look pretty. And I'm not the world's fastest crocheter. I know people like boom, 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 but I crocheted backwards. I don't even know how I did it anymore, but I used to crochet backwards. And so it's a little slower for me right now. And now I know the more I crochet the proper way, the faster I will get. That's just normal and natural. But I will never be super speedy. I'm not a super fast knitter either. I'm just about average. I just plunk away at it while my yarn is cooking. I put all the dyes in my yarn, set everything up to heat, and walk away and let it do its thing for half an hour, and then go back and do the next thing, and then go away for half an hour. So I have a couple hours in the day that I can knit and crochet, and so I can get things done, but I'm not super fast. Don't let it think that I'm a super fast at this. I have some time. But this is a little bit more than I want to just finish this summer. And I kind of want a blanket. The blanket I want is, I mentioned that Gerald, my youngest, is moving. My two youngest children are on the autism spectrum. And Gerald is moving to a group home that will teach him to live independently for this part of the Center for Independent Living, which is, Monroe, Michigan, the Monroe County is phenomenal for young adults on the autism spectrum. The help they've given me, I could not have raised my kids without their help. There's just no way. Without the teachers they had, Ian Arbor here, without the help that we've had, I couldn't have done it. And they're pretty amazing kids. They're gentle, generous, and kind. That's all I can possibly ever want. And they're happy. That's another thing I really want for my kids. So Gerald is moving out, and I'm moving in to his room, which will become an office now. I understand that I may have to move out of that room at some point, but there are things I don't like doing out in the dye studio. The dye studio is a garage after all, and it's fine. I love dyeing out there. I love dyeing out there. I've got a big window and I've got posters on the wall and it's a fun place for me. And there's spilled dye on the floor that I can't get up because fairy crush happens. But I wanted an office that was more of an office, more of a room where I could take my yarn that I'm putting, that I can have a place to photograph my yarn, a place to store this week's update while I put it up on the site, a place where I could sit and crochet, do the podcast, have my skeiner, my reskeiner, and my ball winder. I have a ball winder. I love my ball winder. So it's electric. It's best. It's Ashford electric ball winder. It is caker. It's just the best thing. It was worth every dime for me. It really was. It's gonna, because I'm always doing stuff with yarn. But so I decided that Gerald's room, and I asked Hearn if he wanted it because it's bigger than Hearn's room, and Hearn said no, that they were happy with her room. So I'm going to move into Gerald's room. It's got gorgeous views out the windows. They're a little high because it's a bedroom, but it looks right out. I can see Lake Erie from one of the windows, and that to me is just precious. So I will be moving in there, and I want a blanket for, I'm putting a love seat in there, and I want a blanket for the love seat. I'm actually debating between a love seat or I have a pull-out couch. It's in the basement. I haven't decided which yet. And I want a blanket for the back of that couch that I can kind of wrap up in because I like a little blanket sometimes. You know, sometimes I like a little blanket, especially in the winter. So I finally landed on I left my blanket in the other room. I'll be right back. Back. Don't like to edit. This won't be fun. I'd really rather just go. Say all the stupid stuff I'm going to say and have it be done. So I started crocheting on tiny fingering weight yarn, which is something I said I would never do. But this is a world in which I try things that I've never done before, or what's the fun in that? So I cast on it's a free pattern, Bag a Day Crochet. I will leave a link to her website. She has a bunch of free crochet patterns. It's going to be a little tight on the cast on edge, and I understand that. That's just the way it is. But because I've already started it. But this I cast on. This is Thursday. I cast it on the 4th of July. So this is going along pretty quick. It's about twin bed wide, I'd say. And I just cast on multiples of, I can't remember, +1. But it's just a simple V-stitch. But it looks so pretty. It looks so pretty. And I'm just using up not just mini skeins, but all kinds of stuff. So for my son's Sea of Seals hat, I have all of this stellina left over. It's not a whole cake, so I can't do anything with it. Not that I would. I mean, I could dye it for myself, I guess, but I like this. So I thought what I do is use my mini skeins and then do a row of this between each, maybe 2 rows, between each 2 rows, each mini skein. So when I get done with this mini skein, I'll do 2 rows of the stellina, and I have picked out some pretty colors here. I have, this is too many, I think. I don't think this is maybe too many. This is only 10 grams, but it's so pretty. I don't know. And I'm certainly not going to crack another skein. I have a whole skein of orchids that I haven't used. I pulled it from my sweater and I caked it up. This is why I don't cake up or bring in the house until I'm ready to rock on the next thing now, because I have this skein of orchids that I can't sell and I won't. I have this skein of crystal pink that's almost full. I have Araucana eggs, and I have bunnies in the garden. I looked out one day and there were bunnies in my garden, which is not that amazing, but it's a little garden. So that's how that got that name. So I have these so far. So I'm obviously going to have more than one stripe of these two, and I'm pretty sure, because I knit Hearn's hat out of this, and when I was winding the yarn, that I wasn't paying attention, and the yarn broke, which is one of the downfalls of a electric cake winder. If your yarn breaks, it breaks. So if I can get my paws on that, and I know where it is, it's in one of my baskets. And I haven't figured out the order yet, and I'm just going to go by feel. I know if I can find the other skein of this, I'm going to do probably a palindrome of some sort, and with this color on the other side. And these aren't really colors that I normally would do in a blanket, but I really like it. Now I'm using a plastic crochet hook because I like plastic crochet hooks. I don't understand why. Wood is not really my thing. I use the boy metal ones. Obviously, lots of people do, and I'm happy with those. But I like this. I don't know why. I like this, but this I like, and I can grab the yarn. It doesn't slip off the metal hook as easily as off the plastic hook as easily as it does the metal. So this is my, and it's a baby blanket, but I'm going to make it larger because that's what I do. Keep going, keep going. I'm surprised my socks are so short because they are short too. They're only a couple inches above the ankle, but I think I just wanted to finish them. So that's all the knitting and crochet I have, except I have, let's discuss something. I am never going to say to anyone ever that they should not buy inexpensive yarn. When yarn is upwards of $28 a skein for superwash yarn, that's a lot of money for a project. And there is no reason you should not purchase yarn from a Joann's if that works for you and that's what you like. I mean, if that's what works for you, then do that. Hi, Hearn. Hearn's in the kitchen. Hearn's waving. You can't see them. But I hate Caron Simply Soft. Remember, I've said that I have crocheted all the Caron Simply Soft. Okay. I guess I haven't crocheted much since I started knitting with wool. And I've never crocheted with wool before. And I was crocheting along on this gray granny square blanket, which is not going to happen. And it's too big a square anyway. With this Caron Simply Soft. And it's acrylic. It squeaks. It grinds. It can't, in the movie Lucy, and you may not have seen the movie Lucy, she's talking to her mother on the phone. I won't give the movie away. And she's telling her mom that she can feel her bones growing like a grinding under the skin. No, not her mom. It was someone else, but that's giving away too much. So I won't do that in case you haven't seen it. You may not like it. I love it. I see something new every single time I watch it. I can rewatch movies. The glory of ADHD is you can rewatch movies 1,000 times and catch new stuff every single time. That's one of the superpowers, along with all the crap that comes with it. And it squeaks. And it squeaks when it doesn't make a noise, but squeak is the best word I can come up with it. And I am now done with Caron Simply Soft. I'm going to give away this to my local senior center has a knitting group. They make hats for preemies and things, and they can have at it. I am done. I'm shipping. I only have 4 skeins of Caron left anyway. That's all going to them. I'm not saying I'm not going to go and get the fiber, the yarn for a blanket. It'll probably be like a baby yarn, but it won't be all acrylic. I don't know how I'm going to figure it out, but I'm going to go to the yarn store. Joann's, not the expensive yarn store, Joann's yarn store. Um, and there's a reason yarn is expensive. Yarn can be expensive. There are good reasons for it, but yeah, no, that's I'm probably going to go and get something to make another blanket, because I do want a blanket for my couch. I still want a blanket for my couch. I still want it in yellow and gray, but it's not going to be out of Caron Simply Soft. Does that make sense? It's just not, it's not the tactile experience that I want when I'm knitting. I can knit with other things. I just, there's something tactily about it that isn't, I don't like. If you have a yarn suggestion that has a good tactile feel that's not ridiculously expensive, it's like Joann store prices or Walmart prices as opposed to expensive yarn store prices, because I don't want to make a blanket. I don't want to make a $500 blanket. I want to make a $50 blanket. Please leave them below. I am in the US. We have all the stores around. There's a Michael's, I'm sure. I have never been to one here since I moved, but I know there's one in Ann Arbor. And I go back and see the kids every now and then, so I don't make them come here all the time. On to the sewing. Yay! So there's going to be, they're too big right now. I have to, sometimes I'll cut a pattern, and I self-drafted this and I got over generous. So I will have to take it in the back a little bit before I put the waistband on. But they're just palazzo, they're just cropped wide leg pants to go with my t-shirt and earrings. I'm thinking, and I have a pair of sandals with turquoise beads on them. They're silver, little silver sparkly sandals with turquoise beads. I mean, marriage made in heaven. And I can wear those sandals with the other things I'm taking with me to Put-in-Bay. So I am all set clothing-wise as soon as I put the waistband on these, which will be sometime later today. Is this the best sewing job I've ever done? No. Are they going to fit? Yes. Fit. A good fit in hand-sewn clothing can make it look less hand-sewn. But I haven't sewn pants in a while, so I decided, why not? So probably have a picture of me at some point wearing those pants at Put-in-Bay, or maybe even do some of my podcasting in that outfit, if it's cool enough. Watch it turn to be like 85 degrees, and I pack for 75, 65, and 85 degrees and 100% humidity is very different than 65 degrees and 100% humidity. It's all wet. It's just wetter when it's 85. That's all I can say about that. Much, much wetter. Oh, so damp. That's a word. Like moist, damp. I think there are going to be bugs there. I think bugs are wonderful. I think the planet needs them. And I know I've got house spiders in my home, and they're welcome as long as I don't see them. If I see them, I give them a stern talking to and then ignore them, because they really help. They really help keep the bugs down, especially during mayfly season. Mayflies are, well, I'm hoping I miss mayfly season when I go to Put-in-Bay, because they can be a little bit, I call them creeps. I call them the creeps. When first time I see a mayfly, which is usually in May, I'll see one. And I tell the kids, the creeps are back. And they cover the house, but nothing. I live near a Kroger that has bright lights on all night. I'm not going to talk about it. I'm not going to talk about it. So now I want to do a little shop update section. So if you're not into that, thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. But if you are and you just want to see it, I'll make it quick. I was asked to do some skeins for a local yarn store for a Christmas in July event, but they wanted skeins that were just theirs, Knit City and Hooked. And this was one of the skeins. I called it Sunburned Santa, and they liked it. They love the name, but they actually went with 3 other colorways. I spec'd out 5 colorways, and they're taking 4. So, yay! So, but they're not taking Sunburned Santa for now. And the reason is really interesting. Somebody told me that they thought this was too much Ohio State, and I live in Michigan. So maybe I should just go to Ohio and find a yarn store and say, yay, but it's the wrong colors. It's not the Ohio State colors. The gray in there can be, the black certainly isn't, and the red is the wrong red. They're crimson. And this is another red. It's actually a mixture of 2. But it's a really fun colorway to dye. And so this is going in the shop this week because I am keeping it in my permanent collection. I think it's going to be good there. And I'm putting stuff up on Etsy this week more than my own shop. And the reason for that is when I put up, these are a lot of new colorways, Magpie. And when I do put up new colorways, Etsy, if I put them on Etsy, I get feedback that is really valuable. It's if people that like it put it in their cart, something gets no views at all, even though I've advertised it and it's coming up near the top of the listings, that it really gives me good feedback on where I should go with my dyeing. Because while I dye to my style, and I have a strong style, even with bright colors, you can tell, but it's not everybody's style. You know what I mean? And Etsy is a really good way to find some of that out. It's a pain in the butt to do 2 stores, but it's not that hard. And I have different stock for those stores. There's no merging of the stock. The stuff on StonyCreekYarn.com and the stuff in Etsy are often the same, sometimes different. If that makes any sense. If I'm testing out something new, maybe on Etsy and not on Stony Creek Yarn, it's a puzzlement. You have to figure it out one step at a time. This is pistachio. And actually, it's the first version of pistachio. The next version is going to be slightly less green, a little more muted, a little lighter depth of shade. Does that make sense? Okay. And then I'm watching Nicole Frost, and this is not copying. I am not copying Nicole Frost's yarn dyeing. I just took one of her techniques and then put a couple of my techniques on top of it. And she says to use salt shakers with salt in your dyes, and that the dyes, when you do that, when you have a salt shaker and you mix the dye with salt, it will give you very fine. Police car just went by. I'm on a private road. Never happens. Very interesting. Never see the police here. Very interesting. The speckles really stay sharp. And that's a tip that she gives that I will happily pass on. If you want to do really fine speckles, a salt shaker with some salt, 50% salt, 50% whatever color you're speckling, it's great. The salt kind of they glob onto each other, and it makes the dye come out, regardless of the texture, a little easier. So I'm doing that now. In fact, I'm so excited by this technique that I just purchased 60 salt shakers and realized that I need 15 more. I bought them on Amazon for reasonable price. So I wanted to do a celestial collection, and I am not going to remember the names here. Sorry. So I will sort of tell you, I don't have the names right here. My notes are in the other room, and I haven't put the tags on these yet. So I decided to name the Celestial Collection after NASA. There's a couple I watch on YouTube. They travel the world They travel, well, yes, they travel the world because they just went through Canada on their way to Alaska in two very tricked out motorhomes. And they're older, they're retired, and they name their motorhomes. There's Curiosity and Voyager, and then what they pull, everything has a name, and it's really cool. So I decided that this collection should be named after celestial events. So we have one of these is Mariner. Mariner is this one. I know this is Mariner, and I know this is Curiosity. Those are the only two names I remember absolutely. Oh wait, this is Helios. Now there are going to be a couple changes to these colorways. I used two dyes on this one that I decided one of them wasn't working out. So the next version will be much more lemony yellow. And then these two violets are very close, almost too close. See, they're different, but it's a little difficult to tell. So I've increased the depth of shade on this one just a little bit. But they all fluoresce under black light. And I had a really good time making them. And they're 2 days each because you speckle one day and then you put them in a pot the next day. I'll twist it up and knot it up and ready to go. That's where I differ from Nicole. One of the ways I differ is I do these twisted up in a big kettle in a big lot for the final color wash. But I have so much fun making these, and these are the speckles that happen when you use the salt shakers, and some of these are really, really, really fine speckles. I don't know if you can tell. They're not exactly pin dot speckles, but that wasn't really what I was going for. I was just going for all over speckled appearance. So the Curiosity collection will be in the shop. And I'm thinking about, depending on how it goes, offering a fade sets. And then the shipping is free. Not sure. Thinking about it. I'm not super thrilled with this one. But the rest of them I love. That's because I used Flavon Yellow. Flavon Yellow is a color from Pro Chemical and dye. And if you like Flavon Yellow and you dye with it and you're a dyer, please give me a comment so I can get a hold of you, so I can sell you my Flavon Yellow at a very reduced cost. I have almost an entire full container of it, of 2 ounces. I don't like it. It is, I don't like it. I don't like it. Now I've seen other people use it really, really, really successfully. Leading Man Fiber Arts has, I'm sure it's in one of their colorways. I'm sure it's in one of their colorways that's very popular. But it's just not me, if that makes any sense. It's just not. It's not who I am. It's not my signature color. So, yeah. But again, just almost too close. And the first time I dye a colorway, I could have stuck these back in the pot with darker, but then I would have lost some of the speckles. So one's pinky, and one is purplier, violetier. So that's what's going up in the shop this week. And I think that will be all for shop updates for at least the next 2 weeks, because I'm going into a local yarn store. Nitpicky and Hooked, which does have online sales, will be exclusively carrying 4 colorways. that will be, well, 3 of the colorways will be theirs. They're going to take Skateland, which is my purple that was the beginning, and Beer in a Tree, which is after the 12 Beers of Christmas, because it's Christmas in July. So those will be available on Nitpicky and Hooked at the end of July. And I'm very excited about that because I really like their owner, Laura. She's very nice and she's chill and relaxed. And I'm going to be dying for that for the next week or so. And that's fine because that garage is it's a dye studio unless it's 110 degrees. Then it's a garage. And I really can't dye this in the kitchen. Sadly and unfortunately, none of those colorways. I can do a final wash on one of them in the kettle, which I can do in my kitchen. But I don't like dyeing in my kitchen. I just don't like having those metallized dyes around. I don't like to dye in my kitchen. I worry about the food. I worry about dyes getting in it. And those dyes are so fine. When you're speckling, even with the salt, they get all over. They really do. I have looked down at my shirt more than once and been like, how in the heck did that get there? Because I was so careful. They're very, very fine. Very, very fine. So, Put-in-Bay, knitting, crocheting, sewing. Oh, I went to Joann to get my rotary cutter blade. They were out. So I've ordered one off Etsy. It will be here the day before I leave for Put-in-Bay, so I won't be working on my coasters, which I did do something with. I pre-cut them. Now I can't find the pre-cuts, of course. Of course. I pre-cut them. Yeah, they are. So they're not the right size yet because I don't have, I really do need the rotary cutter. That makes everything so much easier when I'm cutting little small things. But I just roughly cut the sizes I needed out of the colorways I need, of the fabric I needed for them. So I could, that's what they're going to look like. Yeah, that's the fabric I'm using. That's the fabric I'm using. So I can iron the living bliggles out of them before the cutter blade gets here. So I will probably take time this evening to iron. Can you tell that I don't like to iron? And yet I sew. I swear, if I didn't sew, I wouldn't even own an iron. I just steam things with my steamer that I have for my yarn. My yarn's too kinky, I steam it so it gets nice and straightens out real nicely. And I can use the steamer for blocking and to get out wrinkles, and it's a professional steamer, and I would rather use that. But for quilting, you need to iron. You need to iron. So that's all the news that's fit to print. Thank you very much for watching today. I really appreciate it. I can't tell you what it means to me. I've already tried to say that once, but thank yous just are truly from my heart. I hope you do something nice for yourself today because you're the one that probably takes care of everybody else. And if you don't take care of yourself, no one else is going to do it for you. So have a wonderful, wonderful week. And I will see you next from Put-in-Bay and knitting, hopefully on a beach. It's a rocky beach, but it's a beach. I'll take it.